What's going on, Kicks Army? I know it's been a minute. I know I have a lot of things that I probably want to talk about and or should talk about, and there's more videos I want to make, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to talk about this Air Jordan coloring book that I just finished working on. I have pre-orders available now to purchase at 50% off. Now, before you buy, I want to make one thing very clear. Everything that's going to be inside this coloring book, you can essentially get for free already on my website, KicksArt.com. You already know this. If you enjoy the website, if you like printing out the stencils, and if that works for you, there's a good chance you will have absolutely no need for this book whatsoever. But if you are new to the channel, if this all seems new to you, I highly recommend that you do not buy this book first. I recommend that you go on my website, you print off a few of the stencils, and then you decide for yourself if purchasing the book is even necessary or not. Because reality is, and I'm the one who designed the book, I'm the one who made the website. The reality is that most of you will not need the book. I'm very understanding and empathetic to our economic system. I understand what's going on with the world. If this is an expense that you can't exactly afford to make, do not make this expense. The book is 20 bucks, but I'm having that available at 50% off for the next week, up until my birthday on June 25th. You can get this book off of Amazon. I'll have a link for that in the description down below. But if you decide to pre-order this book off my website, you're gonna get a free bookmark and 2 random stickers. Not necessarily Jordan 1 stickers, these are just the examples that I have on me right now. And those freebies are not just for the pre-order, that's gonna be available no matter when you buy the book off of my website. If you buy it off Amazon, then you just get the book. Now, a common question that a lot of people are gonna have is, if I have a coloring book, why am I offering everything that's in the book available for free on my website? And then vice versa, if I have everything on my website for free, why am I offering a coloring book? The simple answer is that people want options, you know? Some people, they love my website and they for sure would love to have this coloring book as well. We're gonna go through in a bit and you're gonna see everything that's inside here. But the other part of this too is that I looked at the other coloring books that were available on the market, and honestly, I didn't find a coloring book that I would want to buy for myself. Think about that. I'm somebody who makes literally sneaker coloring pages, right? This is what I do. And when it comes to an actual book format, there is not one out there that I'd be like, wow, I really want that coloring book. I could have very easily just put together the stencils that I had on my website, put it together in a book, package it, and just ship it off and say, okay, buy my coloring book. That's not what I wanted to do. I put a lot of time into this. If you go on my Instagram, I specifically have a highlight where it's the process of me showing how I created this book. And also another part of this is that I'm actually doing this full time. I left my job as a graphic designer. I'm now a full-time content creator and a business owner. I'm focusing my everything on KicksArt. And a part of that means I need more products. So I'm designing coloring books, I'm designing stickers, more posters, gonna be making more videos soon, the whole works. So if this interests you, I have the links in the description down below. This is gonna be available for 50% off at $10 up until June 25th, my birthday. So if this seems interesting to you, if you wanna go ahead and support your boy, or if you just love a good coloring book, go ahead and check out the link down below. All right, so starting with the cover, this not for resale bar is not going to be on the actual copies. These are just the proof copies that I received. For the outside, it is a matte material. It almost feels like a suede a little bit. Essentially, the back cover is just designed for the retail aspect. If this is going to be inside a store, like a boutique that sells sneakers or anything, it makes the book much easier to sell. Getting into the inside of the book, the first page is essentially just a copy of the cover, just in black and white with the disclaimer on the bottom. Now, a question that you guys might be having is, well, can Nike and or Jordan brand just tell me to cease and desist or sue me? Technically, they could if they wanted to do either or, but here's the reality. Ultimately, there are other companies out there that are making way more money capitalizing off of their products. So if they're gonna go ahead and start, you know, handing out the ban hammer and suing people and or telling people to stop, they would get to a lot of other people before they would ever get to me. Of course, the fear for them coming for me is still there. I just don't think the likelihood of it actually happening is that high, enough for me to not actually go through with this book. So on the next page, have a little dedication page to my mother and to Nike. Then we got the table of contents over here to the right. Now for this next spread, this literally talks about everything that's inside the book, what you're gonna see, why I designed it the way I did, and how it's intended to be used, which we'll be going over shortly too. So the Jordans 1 through 23 are in this book. Every single spread is gonna have the original, is usually a high or a mid cut, and the low version as well. Now the Jordans 3, 4, and 10 don't have low versions, and you're gonna see the solutions I came up with that. But looking through the spread, you're gonna see that of course we have the swatches up here on the top and bottom, so that way you can fill them up with different color combinations that you have, custom patterns if you just wanna use that space to scribble on to kind of get the ink flowing for your marker, whatever you wanna do, it's there. I have 4 of the high models and 2 of the low models over here on the right side. I have the lead designer and the year over here corresponding with the original shoe. And then with whatever that season was, I have Jordan stats listed right underneath the middle line. At the moment, there is no cost-effective solution that I have to making the quality of the book better so that way ink wouldn't bleed through the pages. That's just the reality of me being able to make the book and make it at the price that it is. In the future, I would like to have premium versions of this book available with thicker paper, but that's going to be something later down the road. I wanted to get this at least done in the meantime. So if you're using markers or something else that has a lot of ink, the reality is on the following page, you're going to see a lot of that ink bleed through, and chances are it's going to bleed through the following page as well. Now, again, there's no other way of going around it based on the paper currently. However, there are other solutions you can do to prevent as much bleed. The easiest solution is if you have like a spare folder or something of sort, what you can do is you can place it underneath the page that you're working on, so that way, even though the following page is going to have the bleed through, at the very least it prevents it going from the next page. Because that way when you're using this page, and you're doing the same thing, this page is still going to be messy, but now you're not cross bleeding pages, so that way you can still take as much advantage of the book as possible. Now the folders are cool, but personally, if you've ever used a Canson or maybe a Strathmore sketch pad, you're going to notice that on the back of each one of these booklets, you have like a thicker piece of card that you can use. I like keeping these because this is the perfect backboard to use whenever you're using markers. So you can take one of those back pieces and just have it as a backdrop to whatever you're drawing. This is an example of mine. I mean, look how messy this is. But I mean, the ink is never gonna bleed through this thing. It's so thick, it's so sturdy. The reality is that if you're using markers, you should have some kind of backer anyway, because you don't want the ink to bleed through onto your table. Now, I knew this was gonna be a problem because we could have the people who like using color pencils, they're gonna get full advantage of everything in this book. But for those of us who like to use markers, including myself, there was obviously a clear problem with having this specific layout. I have the stencils big on the left-hand page, the smaller versions on the right. I love that. I love how this is all set up. But the reality is that if I'm accounting for people who like to use markers, which again, that includes me, I wanted to not have these pages blank so that way you could still have the same layout continuing. I wanted to make these pages useful because again, if you're using color pencils, what, half the book is going to be blank? No, I didn't want to take any value away from you. So I included this drawing guide. And if you watched any of my how to draw videos, this is essentially just the grid method. So on this left column, you have the full grid with the shoe, you have the two squares with the center line, and then you have just two squares right next to each other with no center line. This first column here is 3 examples of the same grid, allows you to practice. The second column over here is 3 examples of this grid. And then this third column is actually pretty interesting. So we have the outer border there. This middle one, I don't know if you can tell, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so maybe you can see. There are dots here, 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 and here. And then the last section is just a basic line, which means if you're comfortable using this one over here, you can draw a shoe anytime you want. All it is a line. I gave you a line to start with. If that's enough for you, then you're good to go. So as I said before, the Jordans 3, 4, and 10 don't have low variance. So with the Jordan 3, I gave you 2 options. One that has no elephant print, and then one that does. And you're gonna see again, it's divided in 3 and 3. Jordan 4, again, the original has that plastic caging both on the tongue as well as on the side panel, but the bottom version is just the leather version, because you know we have those 2 versions for the Jordan 4, and again, that's split up 3 and 3 over here as well. Got the Jordan 6s here, the 7s, the 8s. For anybody who wants a complete product of the Jordans 1 through 23 that appreciates the way I go about doing things and how I design the book and the layout, this might be perfect for you. And then for the Jordan 10, I didn't really know what to include for the second option, so I just included the double nickel. I have the 45 over there. Again, it's split up 3 and 3. The 11s, these are my favorite. And you see I'm just kind of going through the book now, showing off every stencil. Again, all of these are already available on the website. If you enjoy what the website has to offer, and if you feel like that's plenty enough for you, you don't have to buy the book. So here's one example. With the Jordan 17 that had existed on the website previously, I didn't have any of the music notes. I didn't even have some of these middle lines. I just kind of had that entire panel blank. That was one of the things that I wanted to change when I made the coloring book, because I really want this to be a good product. I didn't just want to take what's on the website, copy and paste it. I wanted to make sure that I grabbed the stuff from the website and I cleaned it up and I made it as good as possible. If it meant adding more details, then that's what I had to do. The Jordan 20, so this is a perfect example. For those of you who knew, on the website, this whole panel over here was blank. I just kept the general shape of it, and if you wanted to go ahead and fill in the details yourself, that's perfectly fine. If you wanted to add new details, that's cool too. But again, for the purposes of the coloring book, I wanted to give you guys a good product. I wanted this to be something that I could be proud of, because I'm not trying to get this, reprinted with multiple different versions. I said, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this right. Which means going in and adding all those details. Because when you're buying this book, I don't want you to think, oh, it's just the same stuff from the website. That's partially true, but I genuinely want this to be a good product that I can be proud of. And then lastly, finishing off with the Jordan 23. Then after the last spread in the book, which I guess would be this one, we can go over and got some extra content here. So about the author, essentially it expands a little bit on the About Me page on my website, and then I have thumbnails of the Jordans 1 through 14 here. Of course, you can go ahead and color those in as well if you like. One of the very last pages in this book is a blank tester space. So you still have your swatches up here if you want to, try out swatches, but don't necessarily want to include those same swatches on the page that you're working on. You can go ahead and try them here. If you want just a blank space to try something out, whether it be testing out new markers, whether it be scribbling out some ideas, you have a nice clean sheet at the back of the book that's not interrupting the rest of the workflow. And then these last two pages are just literally blank pages. So if you need them, they're there. And that's the entire book.